The Brown Park Podcast is brought to you by Grow Clinics. They're Australia's leading hair transplant clinics, and you can go to growclinics.com.au. Hello.
Hello. What do you got for me?
Today. Yes, today. Today's guest is a guy by the name of Christian Hull.
Mm-hmm.
He's a YouTuber, a TikToker, and Instagrammer. Used to be in radio, has been part of some major shows in Australia. He's a stand-up comedian and author. He had a shop called The Fuck Off Shop. We're going to talk to him about everything.
The Brown Park Podcast.
Question.
Yes.
I was at SeaWorld the other day with my daughter, just on a day out. Thought we'd go to SeaWorld and have a bit of a play around and spend a couple of hours there.
Yep.
Have you ever seen the people that put their kids on leads, like on a leash?
Yes.
Look, now there's no judgment. There's no judgment because maybe there's a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Would you do it?
No.
Because when I look at it, and like I say, no judgment, but it looks like you're walking your damn dog around a theme park.
Look, I had thought of it, but none of my kids were runners.
Right. Well, it just takes helicopter parenting to another level.
No, I'm a helicopter parent.
Well, yeah.
I'm a helicopter parent. I really was. But I was always kind of like, no, I don't want to do the leash because that's kind of the next level. But I think I didn't have runners. And I know family and friends who have had kids who you put them on the ground, boom, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to, because otherwise those kids are going to end up under a car.
Or end up with a dolphin in SeaWorld.
Or end up in a dolphin at SeaWorld, inside the killer whale.
Okay, right, yes. Fair call then, fair call. Like I said, no judgment, but I just thought it was interesting because it's not something that I would do. But
people that do need a leash, especially after a few beverages.
Okay. Are you saying you want to put a leash on me now, are you?
I'm saying that your wife
True.
probably could have done with a leash on the odd night out.
What's to say we don't have a leash? So you two know each other? Have you guys met in the past?
Oh, we've had sex many times. We've met.
Oh, no, he's talked about you and he said you're very good.
Very good.
Well, not the Christian that I know. We've met like just once, really.
Yeah, we met at the station that I work for. So we met there and I just sort of said, hey, do you do podcasts often? And he goes, I do my own, but not many people invite me on. And I'm like, why the fuck not?
Well, you'll find out.
Probably the biggest mistake we ever made, right?
It literally will be.
Look, let's go back to the very beginning of life for Christian Hull.
Ooh, a conception with my parents.
Yes.
Yuck.
Yeah, no, I want to go all the way back. Let's find out, where were you conceived?
Oh, you know, I've never actually.
What position?
Oh,
What
come
position did they
on.
do?
Oh, stop. Don't say that. No, I did find out that this is why are we starting here?
I don't know.
It was doggy style, wasn't it?
Oh, no, yuck. These are my, 200-year-old parents. Stop making me picture it. I made a board game called Fucked Up Opoly, and it was really inappropriate. And I played it with mum and dad for content. And one of the questions was, where's the strangest place you've had sex? And mum picked it up, and dad was like, and then mum was like, on the beach at Jervis Bay. And I died because that's where we went on family holidays. I was like...
Oh, they did it when you were on a family holiday too.
I mean, good for them. I was like, well done. How they found the time, because I've got triplet brothers.
Yeah.
So we were all young boys constantly running around screaming, needing all this attention. They snuck away. I was like, revolting, but high five.
Wow. Like in the ocean or were you...
Look, I didn't...
I'm sure he didn't go into that detail, right?
Yeah, I didn't press any further questions. Just sort of moved on.
He might have been super quick, and that bodes well for people like me.
Oh, well, okay, so we really did start there. I'm sorry. That was not what I'd intended, but I wanted to find out,
oh, liar,
where you were born. What was your upbringing like?
So, I'm a Sydney boy. I hate. Sydney can get in the bin. Do never want to go back there. I live in Brisbane currently. That's where I am. But family life was really fucking awesome. I had my parents are absolutely wonderful. They dote on all of us. They were parents later in life. So, dad was in his 40s when I was born and in his mid 40s when my brothers were born, and mum was late 30s. So, they tried to have kids for quite a while. They really wanted them. God knows why. They got the worst of them. And, I had 4.5 years of all the love and attention from my family. And then, they were like, oh, John, should we try for another one? And then they got triplets.
So you're a triplet?
No, so I'm the eldest. And I was about 4 when they were born. And I vividly remember being very confused as to why 3 babies came home, because I'd seen people at kindy get a sibling, and I was like, that's how it works. Oh, woman, fat, then baby. Oh, that's mum, fat, now baby.
So she had a litter.
Oh, God, yes. And I just remember for a few years thinking it must be like a try before you buy sort of scheme. Like you take 3 home from the hospital, pick your favourite, and then send the other 2 back. And I do remember going, oh, well, I like this one. We'll take this one. And mum being like, no, honey, like all of them, they're all your brothers. I was like, no, thanks. I still, to this day, 33 years later, I'm like, okay, those 2 can go.
How do you, as a child, when you're the oldest and there's 3 triplets and they're all the same age, they would all be going through the same phase all the same time. That would take a lot of attention away from you.
And is it boys, girls, or is it all one gender?
Oh, it's 3 boys. So unfortunately, Mum got 3 boys. Although, would you call me a boy? I'm like a daughter, really. I go to the art galleries. I do all the girly things with nice. Mum. She lucked out with a gay son. He was 3 absolute assholes. Were what to follow. Sorry, what was the question?
I was going to say, what was it like growing up as the eldest of then?
Oh, amazing! It was so good. I loved it. I honestly look back with fond memories of my childhood. I do remember early on, I think a lot of the family and Mum and Dad were nervous that, there was 3. Oh, what's going to happen to poor little Christian? And so I was spoiled. So on their birthday, there was a cake for my brothers and a cake for me.
Oh, an inclusion in cake.
Like, that's ridiculous. And also, I got presents for the first few years on their birthday. And so I look back and go, well, that's why I'm the monster that I am today. Like, it was always about me. It was like, oh, it's your brother's birthday, but also, Christian, come on in. We're not going to leave you out.
So you had like a half birthday?
No, a full birthday. I got a cake and presents.
Oh, God.
I got a full birthday. Like, that was the childhood. I was always included. But I, as a person, love being alone, and I love being in my own space. I live alone. I've never been in a relationship. I like sleeping in a king-size bed on my own. And so I never felt left out because I'd wander off and do my own thing anyway.
Yeah.
And so the 3, so it was Nicholas, Timothy, and Adrian are the triplets, and Nick and Tim were identical twins, and then there was Adrian. So then there was that worry, is poor Adrian being left out? No, because Nick and Tim would go and do their own thing. Adrian would do his thing and I would do my thing, and then we'd come back together and fight, try to kill each other. Mm-hmm. And it was just amazing. I wrote a book, and I started writing this book because I went through, which we'll talk to you soon. I went through radio. I did radio for 9 years, and that fuckily. That fuckily destroys you. It was merrily not good with my words. It beats you down. You've got to be beaten down. And in order to get myself out of a funk, I started regressing into my childhood memories and writing them all down. And then this book formed.
Yeah, Leave Me Alone.
Yeah, that's the title.
Which is the name of the book. Yeah.
So when you leant into those thoughts, what was there for Christian? Because obviously you're gay.
What? Shh, it's a secret. God, stop.
I shouldn't have assumed because it makes an ass of you and me. But but I mean, as a gay young man growing up with 3 brothers, how was that for Christian Hull? I
wasn't gay. No, I'm not gay. What are you talking about? Stop. No, vagina. I love it. I have to say, because I'm 37, didn't have social media while I was growing up. Thank the fucking Lord.
Thank God.
Because I was able to go to school, get teased, whatever. I'm got through that and then come home and had such a great home life, such supportive parents. That was my safe space. And now with social media, like, you can't, nowhere's the safe space.
No.
So I felt very comfortable. Mum was a fashion designer before she had me, and Dad worked for Qantas. Now, name two bigger gay industries, right? So
it was going to happen.
It was going to happen. And I often ask them, I'm like, are you sure you had no idea? And they're like, no, we didn't know. I'm like, but how? Like, Dad, you're surrounded by them at work. Mum, you surround not every male, most of the men. I mean, I was like, how did you not know? And they're very sweet. They were like, well, it was just your personality that we were used to. And then, we'd kind of put two and two together when you were older. I was like, oh. There were a few moments where I remember getting ready for my year 10 formal. Was getting all dressed up and put a suit on, and Mum comes out. She goes, oh, darling, you're going to look so lovely for all the boys and the girls and the girls and the girls. And then she really overdid it. And I was like, this is so embarrassing. Like, this is so mortifying. Because in that moment, I was like, oh, God, they know. But I wasn't ready. Like, I wasn't ready to come out until I was, God, I think I'd left school and I'd come out to my best friend. And then I never actually came out to my family because they worked it out. My brothers worked it out as they got older. And I remember sitting around the dinner table once and it's chaos. Like, we all talk at, sonic levels, like so loud, screaming over each other. And this one conversation was happening. My brother wanted to tell us that he thought his teacher was so gay. He was going to go and be like, he's just so gay. But he went, oh my God, like, he is so great. He's great. And then shoved like food in his mouth and tried to move on. And I think I realized in that moment, because he tried to stop himself because he didn't want to use it as an offensive word. And I was like, oh, that's really sweet. Obviously they are completely aware.
When did you know?
Oh, I genuinely thought I was going through a phase. So I think I would have been 13 or 14. And it was just sort of like my male friends, when they were in their Speedos, I'd be like, ooh, and, a bit creepy. And then I had there was some really beautiful female friends that I had. I was like, oh, put some clothes on. I had nothing toward them. And I had feelings toward
men in Speedos?
Yes, basically. And also when TV scenes would come on, sneaking in to watch Queer as Folk on SBS and Big Brother Uncut to see some dick. There was points where I was like, is this what you do? You enjoy penis and then suddenly you switch to women and then, puberty. And it just never happened. And there was a moment, I think I would have been about 17. No, I would have been 16, earlier than that, maybe even 15. Where I was like, God, this phase is not a phase. I'm like, I think this is gay.
Yeah.
This is what gay is.
You went to a fairly strict school though, a high school, didn't you?
Well, I did a Catholic school. Oops, sorry, that's my Grindr notifications going on.
Oh, good. Okay. How swipe left, all right. What is it?
Oh, no, swipe up and down vigorously.
Oh, okay. Good call.
So school was, an interesting one to navigate. I didn't like high school. I would hide in the library at lunchtime. Pretty much every lunchtime I'd go into the library, just sit there because I wasn't part of any group. Mm-hmm. So I had friends that I would occasionally, talk to for 5 minutes, but I wasn't a part of any clique. It's like a floater. And it was a bit awkward. And so I'd just go to the library. And I'd be like, I'll just do my homework here so I could go home and not have to do it there. And I loved it. I got through it. I learnt in year 7 who the bullies in the year were, who to avoid. You had some pretty harrowing experiences early on and you learned from that. And then it was just just get through it. I think we did work experience in year 11 and I got to go to sit in with ABC and the 7:30 report because a friend of mine was the producer there. And I was like, oh, live television is riveting. It was so exciting because it was Kerry O'Brien at the time.
Oh, wow, that was peak.
Yeah, this was when it rated its fucking tits off. And I remember sitting in this room and I got to see them go from the 7 o'clock news into the 7:30 report, and it was one of the most stressful experiences of my life. And Kerry O'Brien is a fucking legend, because this is what happened. So Kerry's in the seat. They wanted to do a pre-record with Peter Cosgrove, who was over in East Timor at the time. There was all this turmoil happening, and Peter Cosgrove and John Howard were going to be on the show. Now, Kerry wanted to talk to Peter Cosgrove before John Howard so he could get all this information to press the current Prime Minister. And they had the link up and I could see it in the control room, but the audio wasn't working. So Kerry couldn't hear Peter and there was a bit of back and forth, and it was now 20 past 7. And so they're trying to work it out, and it gets to about 23 past 7 and they link up and Kerry jumps straight into this interview and he's chatting and it's going on. And it's like, 7:25, 7:26, 7:27. And it's on the dot, 7:30 report on the dot.
Yeah.
And so it's at 7:28 and I'm like, oh my God, does he need to prep? What's going on? And it gets to 7:29 and 30 seconds. And the news finishes and the opener for 7:30 starts. And he's still chatting away to Peter Cosgrove. And I'm like, is he aware? But I can hear the guy talking in his ear, 30 seconds, Kerry. Kerry's just chatting to Peter, chatting. 20 seconds, Kerry. And I'm like, oh my God. And then it's 10, 9, and Kerry is still talking to Peter at this point, and they are deep in conversation. The opening theme plays for 7:30. It's currently playing. And I'm like, oh shit, this is fucked. Everyone is cool as a cucumber. And literally, as the 7:30 theme is playing, which Kerry can hear in his ear, he thanks Peter Cosgrove and immediately looks down the barrel and says, hello, I'm Kerry O'Brien. This is the 7:30 report. And I was just without even thanks, Peter. Hi, I'm Kerry O'Brien for 7:30. And it's just what's going on? And then they're frantically going to edit this interview. He's now got all the facts, and then he goes straight into the John Howard chat. And you're just oh my God.
Yeah.
This is, I want to be a part of this. And that started sort of my love affair for live entertainment.
This is the Brown Park Podcast. Now, a word from our sponsors.
I want to say a big thanks to Grow Clinics for their continued support of the Brown Park Podcast. And are you noticing a receding hairline or a widening part? Hair loss is a common concern for many Australians, but there is hope. Grow Clinics, the leading hair growth experts in Australia and New Zealand, with clinics in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, the Gold Coast, Perth and Auckland, can help you get your confidence back. Grow understands that hair loss is a sensitive issue, and that's why they offer personalised treatments designed to achieve the best possible results for each individual, whether you're experiencing male or female pattern hair loss. One of their most popular options is a minimally invasive hair transplant technique. Now, it's performed by highly skilled professionals. This virtually painless procedure leaves no noticeable scarring, and plus, with Grow's online consultation, starting your journey towards a fuller head of hair is convenient and accessible. Do not let hair loss hold you back any longer. Regain your confidence with Grow Clinics. Visit their website at growclinics.com.au or call them today to book a free consultation. That's growclinics.com.au, and defy genetics with Grow.
This is the Brown Park Podcast with Christo and Dion. Now back to the show.
So, okay, so you're out of school, and then what was your first job coming out of school before you got to radio, or did you go straight into entertainment as soon as you were out of school?
I did retail for about 5 years. Worked in there was nothing for me in university, and my HSC, didn't do that great, my HSC. I knew I wouldn't. I didn't want to go to uni, and I didn't really know what to do. I was doing community radio, and I was enjoying that. So I thought, well, I'll do this. I'll earn money in the retail business, and I'll volunteer. Volunteered at FBI in Sydney, which is a Triple J style community station. I was volunteer coordinator there, so I worked my way up into a role. I mean, it didn't pay, but it was a pretty senior role there, and tried to get into AFTIS, which is the Film, Television and Radio School. It's pretty prestigious, and they said, no, you need more life experience. And so I had a bit of a breakdown. I was like, oh, fuck.
I've been working in retail, mate. You try it.
God, come on. And so I went and worked in America, and I was a summer camp counsellor for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which it's not really me at all for someone that likes to stay in their room and hates animals. I was on a working farm. Have you ever seen the Manson family ranch?
I haven't. No.
No, Google it, because that's literally where I was. Like, it was in the middle of nowhere in California on the coast, and it was beautiful. But, no cell phone reception, no connection to the outside world, no flushing toilets, no indoors. We slept in canvas tents.
Ooh.
No hot water, so you had to heat your own water. But it was the greatest experience of my life, and I met my best friend, Trudy, there. And that was the life experience that AFTIS were talking about. And it really changed me, because I went from being this, pretty reserved character into going into this summer camp and going, I'm gonna be very out gay here with the counsellors. I'm not going to hide who I am. And I experimented with fashion. And the kids are very cluey.
Yeah.
They literally were like, "Are you gay?" And I went, "No, you're too young to be asking me that." And it was just a really incredible experience. And then I came back. AFTIS was like, "Yes, we will take you now.
We will accept you now.
Yes.
You've shat in a bucket now. You can.
Yes,
be on radio."
literally. Oh, you've pooped in a hole for 3 years. Well done. Welcome on in.
That's all it takes.
Radio is about the same. So come on in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk radio. You got into AFTIS, and then how long before you actually ended up on the air at a radio station?
Well,
because AFTIS is considered in
AFTIS
the industry quite prestigious.
Well, they
like you say.
guarantee you a role.
Yeah.
You get in. There's only 17 people accepted, and you get in, and there's a 99.9 success rate. If you get a radio job. I mean, when we got the radio job, it's pretty abundantly clear it's really easy, because I was in the middle of fucking nowhere doing something super random, and that's classified as a radio job.
Yeah, you're in the street team in Burke.
Oh, my God, no. In Young is where I was.
Really? All right, perfect.
Did AFTIS, loved it, and then went out to Young and hated it because I was doing a solo breakfast shift and there's no one in the station. There was literally nobody there. And then there was no one at home. And that sounds like my dream, but I like to be alone in chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was very rural. And when I did a outside broadcast, I was met with some questionable characters who were also like, "Are you gay? You one of those gays?" And I thought, "Oh shit, where am I?" And I lasted 3 weeks before I had a proper mental breakdown and called literally everyone I knew to give me like some sort of approval that it's okay to leave after 3 weeks. And everyone said, "Christian, stick it out." I called the AFTIS lecturers, called everyone from in my class, and they were all like, "No, stick it out. You'll be good." And then I was like, oh, shit. Because I didn't want to call my parents, because they just, dedicated their lives to moving me here. And they've been so supportive. And I called them crying, and I was like, oh, God, they're going to tell me to just stick it out. And Mum was like, "No, we're on our way to pick you up."
Yeah, come home.
And it was literally like, come home. And I was like, "Oh, I love you so much." Because they just knew. They were like, it's not for you, Christian. Like, it's not. Of course. And I gave up on radio. I thought, well, I fucked it. That's it now. And I went back to my old retail job and got a call from, I don't know if you know, the beautiful Byron Webb. If you live in Sydney, he's on Smooth, easy listening. It's like, it's so painful to listen to because they talk so slowly.
Yeah.
Oh, Celine Dion on Smooth.
Yeah.
But he was my saviour, and he got me a job at NXFM in Newcastle, just sitting in the studio, pushing the on and off button for the ads during Hamish and Andy. And I did that for a couple of years, but because that was 4 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Yep.
And I had the whole day. So I would just come in at like 10 a.m. and I worked with a guy called Jack Ball, who now runs B105, which is Brisbane's, biggest radio station here. Yep. And I became his like assistant music director. Wasn't paid for it, but I was like, look, I need to get in and I need to, how am I going to get on air? How am I going to get a proper job here? And I worked pretty hard, and I ended up getting a full-time role doing assistant music directing, picking the songs, scheduling, and Jack was really good. He struggled through teaching me, but he was really wonderful. We had such a great sort of working relationship, and he got promoted to Adelaide, to SAFM, and then he pretty quickly took me with him. And then he got promoted to Melbourne. And I was like, yay! And then didn't take me with him.
Oh, what a bastard. Hey.
Yep. I tried to get on air. So Newcastle, I was trying to get on air, and I did. I played a character called The Fairy with Stephen Kim, which was the breakfast show. Fucking loved it, right? And cool stereotype. I was a gay that ran around, did the like breakfast crosses outside, that classic sort of, oh, meet me here. I'm down on the corner of this and that with the prizes.
I see cold can of Coke.
Yeah, and then just knocking on randoms' doors and giving away $10,000. Like, when the breakfast crew don't want to leave the studio, which is they never want to leave the studio. No. They just want to sit there from the hours of 6 till 9 and then go home and get paid a fortune. I cashed in on that and loved it. But then I think I got pigeonholed, because I did get told I was a little bit too gay for on air. Yeah, one content director told me that I was a little bit too camp, and the other one said that is the worst fucking thing I've ever heard advice. And so when the content directors changed, then I wasn't too gay. It just all depends on who the boss is.
Depends on the content director, really.
And so I had a really good one who put me on air, and I just became the everyman. I sort of did a bit of audio, paneling, and I didn't have a niche. And because I was pretty loud and gay, they didn't want that. They just wanted a pretty straight, it's 7:23, here's Taylor Swift. And I just couldn't do that because I can't physically do that. It's so boring. And then I fell into breakfast producing, which is by far the worst fucking thing I've ever done in my life. The hours are shit. The job is awful. Oh, God. It's just that the company as a whole pays producers such shit money and they do shit hours. You do, in the rare occasions, work with breakfast talent who have an ego. But not only do they have an ego, they have very narcissistic tendencies. So all breakfast talent, including myself as a performer, has an ego. Well, all three of us here.
Well, you have to have an ego. You have to have an ego.
But when you bring sort of narcissism in, it's like fucking the requests that you're asked to do. I'm like, no, I'm not your personal assistant.
Only pink M&Ms, please.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I need it done and I can't possibly do it. I have a full day. I'm like, you finish at fucking 9:01 a.m. and go home. Oh, Christ. It's total bullshit. we're in a wage freeze because I was on, get this, right? So I started in Newcastle on $28,000 a year, full-time.
Oh, wow.
Full-time. Mum and Dad, thank God for the bank of Mum and Dad. They were lovely. They paid my rent, so I was able to do things. And then when I went to, I got promoted in Newcastle again, and I got 35. I was like, oh, that's still really appalling.
Illustrious, yeah.
And then when Jack took me to Adelaide, I was like, oh, thank God, here we go. I mean, this is a commercial network in a city. It was 40, and I was like, oh, fuck. And then I went to Dan and Maz in Melbourne. So this was the National Drive show. They replaced Hamish and Andy, and I got a job being their digital producer. So this is how I sort of fell into Facebook and online and content creation. Yeah. Got the job with Dan and Maz, and I was like, oh, here we go. It doesn't get bigger than a National Drive show. Like, it is literally.
Hang on. Is it going to be 45,000?
How did you know?
Was it?
Yeah, it was 45,000.
Oh my God.
It was $45,000. And I was just like, cool, yay, I really want this job, so I guess I'll take it. And I was on that for 3.5 years. Yeah. 3.5 years, I was on $45,000 in Melbourne. Wow. And I started doing my own social media content. So Dan and Maz obviously then left and they were put in Sydney Breakfast. So I lost my job with Dan and Maz and they put me on this nighttime spot, 10 p.m. It was with a show called YouTube Hits. So it was, if you've watched any drama channels on YouTube that talk about just all the drama going on with all the influencers and content creators, that's what it was. So we were filming in a TV studio that we'd made. We were making YouTube videos that also doubled as radio segments. So it was this brand new concept, and then they pulled the pin. So it lasted for about 7 months. Now, this was before drama channels were a thing. Social media was just exploding at that time, and had SEA stuck with that show, the YouTube channel alone would be making them tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah. So it was perfect. But They just didn't see the value in it, and they got rid of it. And during my time there, I saw the value of YouTube. I was like, holy shit, what the fuck is radio? Get me out of this old fuddy-duddy business. And so I started my own YouTube channel and Facebook and grew my profile really quickly. And so I started to get noticed. Channel 7 came knocking and they offered me like 70 grand.
I was going to say, did they make it 50? Because it seemed to go in five more increments.
No, they came back with 70. And so I went to the bosses and I was like, I'm going to have to take this job because we're in a wage freeze, because we're always in a wage freeze. 2 minutes later, my boss comes back. No, we'll match 70. I'm like, what the fuck?
Motherfuckers, they fucking do that. You don't get a pay rise unless you fucking leave.
No, unless you have another offer.
Yeah.
And what had happened was I'd started a podcast the year before, and this was just before podcasting was a thing. And so my social following meant I had fucking great podcasting numbers. And so I was one of like 5 podcasts with SCA, and I was the second highest.
Yep.
And so the CEO at the time, Dobbo, was like, we need his numbers, pay him whatever he wants. So I was like, fucking brilliant. So I got the 70. And then they put me in a Sunday night show as well as just doing general video content for Fox FM. And I worked with Em Rossiano and Harley Breen. And that was a lot of fun. And I was filming content for them. And then obviously in classic Sydney breakfast show style, they got rid of the current Today FM breakfast hosts and they replaced it with Em and Harley. So suddenly this Sunday night show was doing the breakfast slot. And so we moved to Sydney breakfast. Now, right before that got signed, I signed that deal, I got approached by Kiss. I got approached by like Kyle and Jackie, and they were like, Christian, we want you. And I was like, oh, this is the dream. This is everything I've ever wanted. Like, I guess
I'm going to get $75,000.
Yeah.
75 grand, here I come.
And I thought, holy shit, they wanted me to come and be like head of video for Sydney and Melbourne. It was a huge role. And I thought, oh, this is a big role. I won't be able to do my own stuff. I'm going to have no time. And they offered 90 grand. And so I was like, oh, that's pretty good.
Okay.
And I said, look, no, I can't. And also Sydney's really expensive. I don't want to move to Sydney and I can't do it. Then they came back with 110. I was like, oh, wow. And I said, look, I just can't do it. And then they came back with $165,000.
And you were like, where do I sign, motherfuckers?
No, and I was like, I'm taking a chance on myself now. I'm doing so well in my social media. And had you come to me a year ago, I would have jumped at this opportunity, but it's just taking off for me. And I see the value in this. I can make a fuckload of money. Give me a year, I'll be able to do it on my own and leave radio. So I said no.
Okay, hey, just before you go on, would there have been a number that you would have said yes to? Like at 165, were you starting to go, all right, I'm getting a bit of a tinkle in areas I probably shouldn't? What would have been the number?
Would have been a lot. Like I was dead keen. Like this was my time to shine.
Good job.
They would have had to offer me like 250,000, and I mean they weren't going to go higher than 165 because I was like, we'll see how this.
Still pretty good.
I love that you backed yourself though. That's amazing.
And I went to. I was like, cool. Well, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to go back to them and see if SCA will match this. I told them I was offered this job to begin with, and I turned it down. And then I said, oh, fuck them. I'm going to tell them they've come back with this huge number. Totally lied. I was like, they've come back with, 195 plus super. And, I'm on 70 here. That's double. That's double. It's more than double. And I wasn't ever going to move. And they went, okay, well, we'll give you 90. I was like, that is a fucking piss poor. 165 anyway.
Counter offer, but okay.
I was like, great, fine. That's 20 grand extra a year. And so I did that job and I learned a lot of things. Can we just put a hold on 1 second? My robot vacuum cleaner has started and it's going to come out here and it's going to be really loud. 1 second. Sorry, must be nice.
This is the Brown Park Podcast with Christo and Dion.
As always, a huge thank you to our sponsors, Grow Clinics. Now, if you're tired of looking in the mirror and seeing your hair thinning, you're not alone. Hair loss affects millions of Australians, but the good news is there are solutions. Grow Clinics can help you get your hair back. They're the leading hair growth experts in Australia and New Zealand with clinics in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Gold Coast, Perth and Auckland. At Grow, they understand that hair loss can be a sensitive issue. That's why they offer a variety of personalised treatments, all designed to give you the best possible results. So whether you're experiencing male or female pattern hair loss, they have a solution for you. One of the most popular options is a minimally invasive hair transplant. It's virtually painless, performed by highly skilled professionals, and leaves no noticeable scarring. With Grow's online consultation, starting your journey towards a fuller head of hair has never been easier. So don't wait any longer. Get the confidence back that you deserve with Grow Clinics. Visit their website at growclinics.com.au or give them a call today to book a free consultation. That's growclinics.com.au. Grow Clinics, defy genetics with Grow.
This is the Brown Park Podcast. Real fellas.
We're just saying, that's when you know you've made it, Christian, when you have to interrupt your podcast because your automatic vacuum cleaner started doing its job.
Yeah, my house assistant.
Now I want to ask you about the fuck off shop. Very quickly about the fuck off shop, because you started this in COVID, did really, really well for a while. And then obviously, you know, the current financial crisis that's upon Australia.
I burnt it down.
Yeah, you've burnt it to the ground, haven't you?
What was the fuck off shop?
So in 2020, I bought this apartment in Brisbane, and I had the plan. So I left full-time work. 2019, left full-time work, bought my apartment here in Brisbane, had made a $80,000 from a 6-week stand-up tour.
Jesus.
And I was like, holy shit, that's so much money. But basically my yearly salary at the time, and I thought, great, I will just do another 6-week tour, and if that's the only work I get, great, that's fine. It's going to pay the mortgage. Bought the place. 3 months later, COVID hit, and I had a tour literally the week COVID started and everything started shutting down. And there was that call, Christian, do you want to still do the shows? You can still do them. I was like, no, it's not a good look. This will be over in a month. Let's just reschedule for October. And that's what we did. And obviously it blew up. And I was like, let's just cancel everything. Oh, shit, what am I going to do? And I really quickly realised everyone in the world is currently locked inside looking at their phones. And I thought, ooh, great time to make content. And you could make anything and it would just rate its tits off. And so suddenly advertisers were going to social media creators. And so I started earning a lot of money, and that really picked up. And then I started just making shit. I needed to do something. So I started making resin pendants. When you move to Queensland, you become a bit of a hippie. I own some crystals. I charge them under the moon. Look, don't hold it against me. But crystals apparently have certain powers. Healing energies, positive life force. Yeah, love the crystals.
Yeah.
I thought, there's got to be a COVID crystal that radiates fuck off negative energy, because they all have their fuddy-duddy powers, and there wasn't. There was nothing. This is bullshit. So I decided to make one myself out of resin, and I put in it a little flower, and I called it the fuck off flower pendant. You could wear it. And what I would do is I would charge it with negative energy. So I would hold it up and I would scream, fuck off, you piece of shit. Boo, get away from me. So as all these resin pendants were curing. And I thought, it's kind of funny. I'll just make a few and make a TikTok about it. And I listed them on Shopify and then went to bed and I didn't really know how Shopify worked. So I didn't put in any quantities. So I had unlimited supply of resin pendants, according to Shopify. And I had 10. I'd made 10 and posted it, woke up the next morning like, did I sell 10? I sold 150. And I was like, oh, shit. And then 150 at the end of that day became 200. And I was like, oh, I've only got enough molds to make about 5 a day. So I jumped on Wish. I started ordering more product, and then someone shared it, and the TikTok ended up getting about 4.5 million views. And over the course of 6 months, I made 17,000 pendants.
Oh, Jesus.
On my balcony with resin. I probably have resin poisoning. And I made...
later on with cancer, but okay, let's go.
I know, right? Oh, just looking forward to that day. I made $500,000 in 6 months.
Did you?
So $500,000 just came into my bank account. As someone that had literally just left radio, I had $500,000 in there, and I didn't also realize that 47% of that was to go to the tax man.
Of course.
And so I started reinvesting into selling merch, built the fuck off shop, ordered a bunch of product, got a team, hired videographers and editors, and started expanding my business out. Spent most of the money in growing and in product, and it was pretty good. I released a fragrance, did $500,000 more in sales from selling a hoodie. And I was like, I am so fucking good at this. I'm selling snake oil. I'm selling snake oil to people for $22 a pop. And I just thought, what a genius. And then I expanded really quickly, and I just noticed things weren't selling. Like the gimmick of the pendant and the fact that I made it was why it did so well.
Yeah.
It was what they call like a unicorn product. It was the right time. It was made by the right person. It was just this perfect combination to succeed. Now, I didn't know that. And so I was, 17,000 pendants. I was like, well, I could sell 2,500 of these weird dick-shaped straws. So I ordered 2,500 of them, thinking...
Did you really do dick-shaped straws?
Yeah, I did dick straws, dick water bottles, dick chopping boards, things with fuck off on them. And I realised, it didn't sell as well as the pendants or the hoodies. And so I was like, okay, well, I rejigged that business thing. I've got so much stock. And then, COVID finished. Everything returned to normal. Spending habits changed, cost of living and interest rates came in, and it pretty much, who needs a dick water bottle when you can't afford food? So it's just sales completely stopped. But I kept everything going. So I had two businesses, two ABNs. You had the merch side and you had the social media side. And the social media side was making enough to keep both businesses just afloat. And that's not a really good way to run life.
Not ideal.
And my best friend, who I met at summer camp, Trudy, who lives here, was my full-time employee. And I couldn't say we're shutting everything down, like paying her wage. And she came to me and she had to say, Christian, this isn't working. Like, you're losing a lot of money. And then I burst into tears. I was like, I know. What do I do? And so she said, let's just close it down. Let's just stop. And I thought, oh, fuck. Yeah, okay. And I thought, what am I going to do with $250,000 worth of stock? Like, no one's buying it. It's not going to sell. Shit. And to move that costs another 50 or 60 grand to try to give it to somebody.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, I'm already like $200,000 I had put personally into this business that I was in the red for. I thought, like, shit, can we set it on fire and claim the insurance money? And then I just thought, you know what, I'll just be honest on Facebook. I'll just do a closing down sale. I'll pack orders live, and I'll try to sell at least $60,000 worth of this stock. And I was absolutely blown away. In the first 3 days, I sold 150 grand's worth. Pretty much it was all gone.
You should reinvest.
No, stop. Don't get into selling merch. Like, never. But business is tough. Business is fucked. But the freedom, the lessons I learnt, I will take with me into whatever I do next. And also it taught me a lot of how to be responsible financially.
Yep.
So every opportunity to make money from something I'm now doing, because it was literally, the last 3.5 years was, you think you're doing okay, and then you just get hit with something that's cost a lot that you hadn't planned for. And so I managed to make back, the $200,000 that I'd put into it. And so I was like, oh God, so, my bank account's pretty healthy now. And I was like, yeah, but I'm going to put that aside, because at any moment, if sponsorships stop, I got nothing coming in, and I literally put that money aside. And as soon as I did that, Facebook, which is one of my biggest earners, shut itself and stopped paying me.
Yeah, why?
Oh, fuck, I don't know. Like, some tax information wasn't updated, like the tiniest little thing, and they froze the account, and there is $75,000 that I can't access sitting in there.
Still?
Yeah, and so it's been like that for maybe 5 or 6 months, and I'm so lucky that, the shop closed when it did, because had I been in that financial hole and the shop not been closed, I'd have to sell this apartment.
Yeah.
I'd have no money. And so just the timing was so perfect, and that's still an ongoing thing. And so even when I get that Facebook revenue, something else will happen. So I just keep that money aside, and it's just up and down.
The thing is, in all of these stories that you've been saying, the one thing that you need to believe in is you.
100%.
And you need to back yourself and the skills that you've got with video and with being online, because that's the one thing in amongst all of that is the consistent.
Yeah, you do, but it takes a lot to be able to back yourself.
Yeah.
Like you have to learn, like I had to learn that the only way to get value was to get an offer from Channel 7. I was like, oh, that's how you play the game. You know, for so many years, it was so personal. Like I've done this work. I did it for you for free. Like I came in early to be an assistant music director. Like I deserve a raise. And now as a boss, like as someone who had staff, I'm like, absolutely not. Yeah, cool. I don't have the money to pay you that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Where do you think I'm going to get that from? Sure, you deserve it. I didn't ask you to do it. And so I learnt things from the other side as well, having left radio. But I don't know how to teach people that, you know, it's a business is business. They don't give, I promise you, they don't give a shit about you. Some Gen Z employers I'm seeing on TikTok are starting to give a shit about their employees. And there are certain things like there's a creator called Brittany Saunders who has Fate, the label. And it's this huge clothing brand that started at the same time as the Fuck Off Shop. And I used to watch her and go, wow, she's doing really well. And then she did really well. And then I burnt to the ground. But watching how she treats her staff and that's why her business is just so successful and why everyone loves her. And it's slowly changing, but you've got to learn to try to toot your own horn.
So what does Christian Hull do next?
Oh, fuck off. I don't know. Everyone asked me that. So before 2020, I never made plans. I had never planned absolutely anything in my life. Everything had just happened. The Dan and Maz situation had just happened. The move to Melbourne had just happened. The Carl and Jackie O, the working with Em and Harley, it just sort of all happened. I never chased anything. The only thing that I was trying to chase, I never got. I never got that breakfast show. I was never that Kyle Sandilands figure. That never happened. When 2020 happened and I got a lot of money, I started planning. And that ended in fucking disaster. And I hated planning. It killed the mood. It killed the vibe. I'll just think of something in the moment, film it, do it. You know, like I got on a cruise ship recently, and that was totally on a whim. I didn't want to get on it, and I just went, "Oh fuck, it's coming." It was this big Ultimate World cruise. People were on it for 9 months. I spoke about it in a TikTok. The TikTok went mega viral, and then the cruise ended up stopping in Brisbane, where I live. And like, I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to get a ticket." And so I did it. I had no plans. I didn't know what I was going to do on the cruise. I'll just go and do it. And I learned that I'm very spontaneous. If I plan something, it's shit. It always turns to shit. Don't plan.
Yeah.
And so everyone asks me, what's next? And I'm like, I don't know. Will there be another cruise? Definitely not. I hated that. But I don't know. I genuinely really don't know. And something will happen and it'll be amazing. And I'm fine to just not have anything. I've got nothing planned. Like the only thing that was planned was this podcast interview. I've literally got nothing else.
I love it, because I mean, I'm similar to that. To a certain extent, I've got a saying where I say, "Fuck it, let's just see how this goes."
Yes, you do.
Yes. Yes.
My whole motto is, "Fuck it, you know, let's give it a go." Because there's a level of freedom when you say to yourself, "Fuck it, let's go," and just know that everything's going to work out.
Yeah.
One way or another, it's going to work out.
Yeah, and
I mean, it gets me in trouble a lot. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, it'll always get you into trouble, but you learn.
Yes.
And then
totally.
What's really fascinating is I've started to have friends that come to me and they go, "What's your advice?" And a friend of mine recently was in a job that he didn't love, but he liked this job. But one was full-time, one was part-time. And, but this part-time one won't lead to here, but I can't sacrifice the wage and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, having done what I love and being able to just pivot so quickly and back yourself in, I was like, well, you back yourself in, leave your full-time job, do part-time. That's not going to last long. You're very good and they want you to do part-time. They'll find something for you. You might have 6 months where the time might be a bit stressy, But if it fails, you're a nurse. There's a 25,000 nurse shortage. You'll find a job. It's not like you're leaving nursing forever. And that was what I thought when I left radio, regional radio in Young, with 4 listeners. I thought, well, my radio dream's over. Like, I fucked it. And you hadn't. And so I felt really old and wise being able to pass on that information of physically back yourself in. Your husband backs you in. You've got all this going for you and you're worried about something that's so stupid. Like, you think you're never going to be a nurse again if you take this. Of course not.
I mean, and somebody once said to me, don't ever forget that if you were to die tomorrow, your company would replace you tomorrow.
Isn't that so? Yes.
It's just so true. I mean,
Yes.
we're forgettable in the business world.
Did you say company or wife?
Both.
Both. Got to be careful. But you might go for an upgrade.
A red dot suddenly appears on your face.
Well, Christian Hull, that was a great chat about life.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I feel like I, as I always do, just talk about myself for the full hour.
Hey, we're not here to talk about us, Christian.
Do you do episodes without guests?
Not really. I don't know whether we're that interesting.
No, see, that's the thing.
Well, and plus, Christian, I can't talk too much about, I've done some stupid
right.
shit that just needs to stay kind of in the vault sometimes.
Okay, I get it. Someone that is an oversharer, I mean, I can't relate to that. I talk about absolutely everything all the time and nothing is a secret. But people will find your lives and and your stories. They truly will find them super fascinating.
Oh, I know most of a lot of Dion's secrets, and they are great. They are great stories. I'm trying to get him to share them.
But you can only share them when you're self-employed and you have no employer and have no dream to go to another place.
The Brown Podcast.
Why are you happy?
Because I